So I recently did a video talking about 2018 anime that I would be watching for the fall season. One show in particular that I didn't mention was a little show called
Death to All Jews.
It's lurking in nothing wrong. It's lurking in nothing wrong. Now, Hook-Nosed Juice Slayer over here, this show's just what the doctor ordered. I've been aching for a show where they unapologetically slaughter inferior breeds of humans and cremate them because of how fucking inferior they are and—
That's not what the show is about.
Huh? Oh, really? Goblin Slayer. Well, color me confused. Weren't people saying that this was a show akin to racism towards Jews?
Are you a fucking pro-lifer? All goblin life is sacred. Goblins themselves have a long history as a Jewish caricature, being hook-nosed creatures who hole up in their caves hoarding wealth. It's somewhat telling that the characterization the series ended up using to create villains of the goblins is basically a hodgepodge of all sorts of racist propaganda from throughout the centuries.
Oh. That guy.
Are you a fucking pro-lifer?
Okay, Goblin Slayer. It was pretty good, I guess. Let's talk about it.
I like goblins!
What you say? What you say?
Goblin Slayer is a currently airing anime that has the entire internet, or at least Twitter, in a collective swirly dunked into the dankest of meme-filled toilets. Mostly from the graphic and violent rape scene.
Damn, he had a fat ass.
Oh, hell no! Actually, you know what? That really didn't show very much at all. At least in terms of rape. That fucking sucked. Now, the reason that I'm making this video isn't just because I wanted to make a first impressions video of the first 2 episodes of Goblin Slayer, but also to address some of the comments going around about things like said rape scene, but mostly the former. And one of the very first things that I liked about this anime is the fact that the adventuring party is actually just like your typical harem anime cast. You have the MC who's bland as fuck traveling with a group of girls, and he may or may not have a special power that no one else has. Or he might have gotten one later down the road if he was the MC. You have the thick but fit girl who probably lost to the MC in a fight, and now wants to suck his dick. You even have the thick brainy bitch who probably was expecting a little more from her first time traveling with adventurers than dying from her first time getting penetrated from just the tip. And then you have this kid, the resident lolly of the group that the MC pulls in with his charming but bland personality. And in all honesty, this makes for a pretty fucking boring cast. So, can you tell me who the main character of this anime is?
Is it you?
Yep.
Wait, so who's the main character?
That would be me.
Das war ein Befehl!
So aside from the bland, boring cast of any harem or isekai anime out there getting thoroughly raped, both figuratively and literally, what else do I like about these first 2 episodes? Meh. I like the overall conviction of the main character, the real main character, GS, who's not willing to let some dumb girl's emotions make him do stupid shit, like letting goblin babies live just because they're babies. We kill pests as much as possible because they're pests, and they can overrun anybody's home if left unchecked. Goblin Slayer knows this. At least more so than some internet tranny and their clique of uncultured internet trannies who can't take a good old-fashioned culture slap in their faces. But also I enjoyed the fact that Goblin Slayer didn't go the route of overglorifying teenagers and the youngins by propping them up to be smarter and wiser than we expect, when in reality they're usually dumber than we expect. What I mean is that anime has a tendency to use teenagers in almost all of their works I've seen in recent decades, where there's always some kind of conflict between them and the adults, which tries to play adults off as if they're aging and useless. When if we're talking realistically, the adults would be better than the teenagers at almost every aspect in life that isn't a computer or tech related. Unless we're talking millennials, who majority of the time, even if adults, are pretty useless. In fantasy, the majority of Chads are teens, when in reality, Chads only ever happen to be grown-ups. You're pretty retarded when you're a teenager.
What'd you do with Kyrie? She's part of the darkness now. She doesn't need the light. You're a nobody!
Stop it. Get some help.
But Goblin Slayer, this Chad over here, he's like 20-something plus, or at least according to the wiki. And that helps me to believe that he actually knows what he's talking about and doing, which he does, mostly. Why he doesn't use an antidote? I don't fucking know. Why is the poison acting so fast that she can't be saved? I don't fucking know. Why did only the knife have poison on it and not the fucking arrow? I don't fucking know! But them's just minor nitpicks. From the get-go, we can see that Mr. Slayer kind of... well, he kind of just... I don't know. He's... doesn't really... You know what, let's just ask him himself.
I hate
Goblins.
all of them. Every last iota of
Goblins.
I hate it. You're gonna have to kill some.
Goblins.
You're gonna have to kill some of their babies.
And there you have it. One thing that a lot of anime tend to do is to present a person whose goals run on pure hatred in a negative light. Roy Mustang, for example, was presented in a negative light, as if killing one more person, who wasn't even human to begin with, would have destroyed him because he was killing on pure hatred and a desire for vengeance. Why? He's killed people solely for his country before in Ishval. Why is killing for revenge the thing that's gonna set him down the wrong path? I don't fucking know. But in the case of our Chad of Chads, our Thought Slayer of Thought Slayers, is that his quest for revenge, which is his motivation as shown in episode 2, due to the murder of his entire family and village, at least is presented in a light of, it has to be done. And we're not given some philosophical reason why he has to do it other than I want revenge. It makes sense. He probably never would have bothered to do it, or learned how to kill them to such a degree, if he never had such a traumatic experience putting his mind in a place where learning how to kill goblins was something he felt he needed on a fundamental level. But it's not presented in the light of negativity other than Priestess maybe taking up issue with his methods, such as lighting an entire cave on fire, possibly causing an avalanche or something. It's presented in a light of, this is a job that has to be done, and since no one is taking these goblins seriously enough, and I have a personal hatred, I'm going to learn how to kill them to the perfect degree, and do it with my entire soul filled with hatred for them. Hate in itself isn't a bad thing, it's just how you go about hating something. We hate evil people, right? It's a righteous kind of hatred. He hates a race that's considered purely evil, does purely evil actions, even if one of those actions they have no choice in the matter, due to the absence of any female goblins. Which is related to the rape scene. It's presented at least with a legit reason for why goblins have no choice but to rape. They have no females in their race. Take it as if the Namekians in Dragon Ball Z didn't spit out eggs as forms of reproduction. And if they, well, at least under the assumption of having a lack of this thing, had penises, how would they as a species survive? Just because the author didn't choose another way for them to procreate other than similar means to our own, doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's just how the author chose to handle it. Not every little detail of a fictional race needs to be that different from ours. One of the things that shows how stupid people really are when it comes to things like rape are when you see people complain as if the very notion of rape is a terrible thing to even talk about. It's not like Goblin Slayer was being pro-rape, and last I checked, fictional waifus that either end up dead or raped have no human rights. Thus, there's no moral problem to be had with making a rape scene, especially when it's just there to add fuel to the fire that is the Goblin Slayer's anti-goblin rhetoric. And it's not, despite what some pedantic prick and his equally pricky fat-nosed life partner, who may as well be a stand-in for any goblin in the show, would say, a caricature of the Jewish immigrant. Goblins have long been a mythological race since before the first steam engine was birthed. Even as far back as the 1400s, if my research is correct. Having a nose that's coming right out of the trailer for The Last of Us does not make for a Jewish caricature, without the intention for it to be that way. Goblins are presented in a way that is more akin to an animal, an instinctual breed of creature completely devoid of human thought process, especially a more modern human thought process. Even if you choose to let one of their babies go, he's just going to grow up to be this fat fuck. Just because it can breathe and bleed red blood doesn't mean that suddenly we should be inviting these things to drinks with you and your wife, who may as well, due to you being an idiot, have a sign around her neck screaming, "Super smash me, daddy," while she watches you get the blood drained from your skull and her brain fluids fucked dry by a fat goblin cock. Hey baby, welcome to my swamp.
Oh no.
So no, I can't agree that rape makes something bad. It's a tool. A narrative tool to bring certain characters together on a common quest. Destroy the goblins in the hope that you can one day rid the world of their kind, and maybe teach a few noobs not to underestimate creatures as dumb as 5-year-olds. Because God knows how many 5-year-olds can do this. So overall, Goblin Slayer from a first impression standpoint on the full context of the currently aired episodes, it's not bad. Could have used some work, but overall decent enough for me that I'll give it a passing grade. At least I'll eat some popcorn while watching it and nothing more. It's nothing that blows my socks off. And while I may give Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood some flack for giving what I feel to be a ham-fisted message about hatred in Roy's quest for vengeance, it really is what I would imagine to be something that blows me away. Especially since it was hyped up a pretty fair amount. Goblin Slayer, on the other hand, his whole story is told from the get-go. There's really not much build-up for his whole quest on vengeance. It's just kind of a necessity in this case, as it gives a legit reason for him to hate the goblins this much, but nothing to be too invested into emotionally. But we all know the real reason we're watching this show, right?
Wrong!
I don't like the Jews. I'm guessing that they don't like me too. And you can tell me if I cross the line or if I'm racist. I try to keep an open mind. I put them all into a camp, but it's my concentration that wasn't really